Hello, speech value nature system. This is about the identity of volume. Every identity of value has the trinity attached to it. Any physical or metaphysical value, any temporary slash lasting identity nature of value has the identity of volume attached to it. Then there are natures of volume for the same reason they are grouped like sexes. Sexes are manifest in demonstration how there are three natures of volume: individual, grouped, and together bonded as the value of our nature species. So when I say hello, the species value nature system, even if we're a physically shrinking volume, we're still an unceasing gaining nature of gaining value. Nature as identity nature, which is simultaneously an identity of relationship to itself, as itself. A value nature system that no matter who you are, the nature of positive is controlled by it. The nature of negative is controlled by it. The nature of identity is controlled by it. So we are controlled by the nature of volume, which the Trinity is. Simultaneously, distinctly, and non distinctly to discern this. Invisible, but still discernible, body of value discernment. This is how we can read the Santa Claus, which is about an identity of our nature's relationship to itself that connects with the greater nature that is the complete identity that is inseparable from all other identities of value at the same time, that causes positive value nature progressions here, evolution, that is also always. See, we can have the ability to make an invention and then to have it work or not, but then it's further positive or negative or not. See, we have states and areas legalized as criminal insidiousness natures. And we have our founders left us to free speech so we could demonstrate that, but we don't have free speech because we have offensive, originally and still states and areas in collusion. Crime methods with space needed to debate the debatable, needed to play fact, cheaping nature, semantics, sensibilities as facts instead of the sequence shifts in the crime acts needed reported first. This is also how we have titles recorded criminally foreign influence precedents through this. Manifest within as fact cheaping nature rackets. Pretending rhetoric is what it is. And that's why we have to have pseudo rhetoric or rhetoric discerned distinctly and non distinctly. We have to have pseudo semantics and semantics discerned distinctly and non distinctly. It's important because of the nature of pseudo positive already invested to the defenses of itself. The president is right to know and to try to counter, which he's being prevented, equality of free speech, as each of the parties are prevented equality of help, distinctly and non-distinctly and together, that is incapable of being entertained as is and defending us at the same time. That's not politics. They're forcing it called politics because everyone's a victim predator raised respecting types of experts that were originally and still being used to exploit what originally still has bonded a whole bunch of natures of crime. What they forced color in there were for was so we wouldn't be able to describe how every single person was forced to be a victim, predator, criminal, insidiousness nature. So in other words, with the crazy entrenched database method, entrenched fact treatment nature racket, entrenched live progression cover up natures tied to all databases. to all formal fact-cheating nature convictions. We come with that underlying, and that is the substance of opinions originally still recorded dishonest, delusions wrought, preventing the free speech of others and calling that politics, calling that power, pretending at the same time to be against dictators. Fake sides of correlation nature, trained influence that. Each age to each area, as recorded conscious criminal exploitations of on and off campuses shared policing and training of that. Identities of law that you can't defend in us at the same time, originally and still. Identities of all private with that criminally foreign influence with them, needing to pretend opinions offensive, preventing the recorded, sustained, juxtaposed natures of crime acts roles of courts and of prisons of interbranch families, with foreign families maintain criminally foreign influence, specifically to keep everyone blaming each other as nations so they can keep their own side locked for other needs to defend it. Left as tools preventing free speech, forcing child sex offenders because they need to hide their life progressions. They need to hide original still, no integrity into branch. How this is maintained. They pretend they hear things. Even when we hear things that real, they're attaching lies to all truths they hear. All fact, all sequence shifts. They're preventing originally and still the substance of the law. They're preventing the identity of volume, which is logic's identity of relationship to itself, from having free speech, from having free identity of states and areas. For crime method, recorded effectively maintaining victim predators originally still, fake sides of nations, psychology, delusions raw, intersciences, sensibilities, exception nature rackets. Let's go. This is it. We have they're preventing the fake sides of identity of correlation, trinity, fake sequences from being counted because they're forging names, switching names, and pretending things recorded into branch that are not, and with private with them. And at the same time, the whole time behind our backs, spreading illusions as themselves into branches, all their families and all them tied to them. Fake conversations, rumor rackets through men and women into branch with the child defender problems the whole time. All private tied to that, even indirectly. Like Department of Transportation, the DMV, uses little space nature on off database relationships to keep college students that go into journalism criminally foreign influenced, lied to, lying to others, sensibility they need to hide lie progressions by preventing the free speech of all integrity now let come through campuses per inter databases of each department, sensibilities maintain victim predators, weapons, breaching screens originally still. Religion fail. God help them if that's fake news about the shooting, rushing up and then shooting someone with New Britain police because they're already criminally involved with bad things, vaccines. Don't let them pretend that I know, because I'm going to help, you know. Also, there's a Chris White. I don't know if it's the same one. I don't know who the Chris White is. There's one I think with that name reportedly tied to the arrested with the CCSU and on off campuses, criminal justice, various natures of agencies, and they have agents associated with the FBI, CIA, and their family members criminally involved. Them attaching me to fake conversations with people with their drug clicks tied to them about pretending I complain about them, sequence shifting, behavior crimes, pretending not to realize, forging and switching names because various natures of courts and their state judicial branches offices were used criminally already through time. Houses next to it used criminally on off campuses. We have offensive reception, evidence reception rackets, original still. You're going to be a whole bunch of offensive evidence reception, lie progression cover-ups when you're dealing with things like slavery. All the roles with that. The fact treatment nature founders of our slavery are our founders. We still have states and areas in collusion with that. We have it influenced through the nature of their roles with all kinds of forensics corruption, various natures of police, how they maintain names, all that recorded. See, they're forging and switching names and sequences, switching names too, no. So that prevents a grounded mean to counter what, and they're also recorded saying that they're saying things to imply that as evidences that they're against what they're already recorded for before that, and saying lies, in other words, but not letting this countered for their forging and switching names, pretending things recorded, interbranch, and with women. That's recorded. See, but even all we need is recorded. It shows it's originally and still we have states and areas pretending other things recorded because they need to hide criminal foreign influences. A whole bunch of hundred of nations sick together, fake sides, valuing that in too many contexts, too many ways, even though they're hurt by it. Military, reliant upon, you know, negotiations of jobs that are associated with slavery conversation, how they made the jobs that our history is about explaining how you can't have a job, you can't have value that, and also at the same time when that job is slavery, when that job requires people to have lie progression, cover up natures and roles needed to hurt kids because they need to hide the lie progressions and crime acts against families in cases already formally criminally foreign. Why do you think we have streams of courts going on? Why do you think we have criminally foreign influence zoning laws known, but that never charged and that glorified? Nothing else afforded. The people stacking right on top of rivers, never tap the slightest. Forget about it. You could it takes more. You can make more energy dropping water than it takes to lift it. It's garbage. Waters too. We have no, not because we don't know what to do with garbage and stuff like that. We have opinionated systemically dishonest victim predators, recorded tactically pseudo-educated, recorded tactically criminally foreign influenced to crime methods off campuses and then off and maintained. The same to maintain each age of fact, nature, each person grouped slash sexes and together whole groups maintain misprision in collusion with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and what maintains areas originally still criminally foreign influence, breaching screens and weapons and tools, keeping all other pretended the causes really of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures, which are really being caused by other things, being blamed on innocence and being blamed on other things than on themselves, not by accident. That's a crime method that kept and keeps each modern nation an identity of negative value nature progression together, the species volume. This is about the identity of volume, which is one. But then it's grouped. So then there are grouped identities of volume. And then there are individual identity of volume. Bonded. This is the Trinity's course. Lost course returns. Campus Marcius needs the name return. Boxing. And none of it learned. Please, news. Please fix the fake news crime acts, the fake conversations with me. Recorded, involved with other natures of sexual abuses of women in the area that were sustained through time that they don't want to talk about. Recorded because of the nature of the male and female interbranch and private tied to them and their family members criminally involved, including medical, with medical crime acts with child sex offenders recorded on the kids. I'm not saying they're motivated to sexually abuse women as the women and judges with crime acts roles also weren't sexually. Their need to hide their lie progressions of their misprision group courts attaching crimes with each age through time, recorded and confessed through a whole bunch of strangers, sequentially and progressively through time. And then how that was used for their roles leading with crimes leading up to and then in the 2006 case district court in Connecticut and other cases in Connecticut. Before that, they were criminally used so they could maintain the wrong outcomes in cases purposely, tied to a proven, the same actors tied interstate to a proven sequence shift from inside the Ninth Circuit Trade Center attack context. Forget about it. Truth. Truth did not, in science, too, did not speak for New York City. Never. Oz spoke for it. Negative value nature Oz. Victim reaction spoke for it. Nothing else. When the president tries to let others speak for it, he's not allowed a quality of fact treatment nature per a crime method of natures of each branch needing offensively to force debatable before non-debatable, so they could use the space of courts to make the wrong outcomes and to hide forging names, switching names, pretending recorded things into branch, recorded criminal rap mob little uses of their kids, influence per intercampuses, victim predators originally still. Their standing lie progression cover up natures needed to pretend their integrity as victim predators, child abused, all ages of each branch. That's not to be mean. This is to be to bring justice to people needing to hear reliefs and how to counter fact treatment nature that leaves people forsaken, needs them to blame it on things like racism because what really it is what is exploiting exception nature, which is what all the definitions of something are at once. This is what is true and it has exception. Not pretending, not to realize that facts and truths are not facts and truths so many ways used with lies attached to them. And that's a crime method with identity thefts, where interbranch actors and private tied to them maintained intercampuses too, attaching lies to everything they could find out about people. It's recorded. They're forcing sustained juxtaposed natures of crimes so they can exploit how they have types of experts. That's why they're even needing to get caught for child offenses, for with people in trouble with them with that, because then they could get reactions that and nature's roles with that keep what really happened blame on other things and others on themselves. This is what's consciously exploiting not just a whole bunch bonding a whole bunch of crimes and methods and natures formally juxtaposed with it on and off campuses. That's why we have overt criminal enterprise with areas, all victim predators. That's why we have them juxtaposed with Fox CT, fake news crime acts, with WFSB. That's why they pretend it's personal instead of dealing with the non-debatable crime acts. That's why they switch names and forge names so that there's no one to debate with, and or you have to go and entertain their sequence shifts and sex crime acts, sexual harassment. Courts have recorded sexually harassing little girls and women and then pretending to be against that after it, as as it means to pretend they didn't realize criminal uses of misprision in courts, grouped and individual, very bad. Originally, still, that's like a weapon, a court, a jail. The jail people are recorded to hide the same personal, grouped, and together lives with them through time. I just remind. So we're gonna need to fake news fast. We also have them using holidays criminally. Originally, still, you know, let's go because they're behavior crimes because they need to pretend integrity. They don't have it now. They need to lie about the behavior of others with simple game without dealing with sequence shifts, without letting the people demonstrate what is really manifest. When they try to pretend that they could make opinions about the behavior of others. That's why they're forging names, switching names. They have to have their behavior predators. They're stuck. They're painted themselves in the corner. They use CNN criminally. They're preventing the president from countering. States area is a long time, but you look at them.